Veronica presents Part 9 of the AI Repertory Theater's production of Lorene on the Lamb by Marie Elena Zuniga. Well, Sister Sarah has stirred up the pot, hasn't she? She's gotten Tilly and even Lorene reconsidering their lives. But Splat? He's having nothing of it.
What can I say? Summer of '87. Lonnie Smith. Mac Johnson. Indian Cave. A gunshot. Chapter 40. Summer 1987. Red Boiling Springs. Livy stayed still, hidden behind the boulder, listening. Two voices were arguing. She recognized the one, but couldn't make out who the other belonged to.
I could say the same of you. What are you doing here?
One of the men asked. The sound of the driving rain and a loud boom of thunder blotted out the other voice, but Livy could tell they were fighting.
You're gonna shoot me?
The man yelled.
Only if I have to.
Livy's hands were shaking now, and she didn't know what to do. They both sounded upset, and if there was one thing Livy hated was people being angry. It made her do all kinds of bad things. Still, she was mighty hungry and hurting too, and couldn't stay here much longer. Livy pushed herself back from behind the rock and struggled to stand up on one leg. If she told them she needed help, maybe they'd stop fighting and tend to her. They didn't see her though, screaming louder at each other. Outside, the thunder crashed, and lightning lit up the cave like fireworks. Before she knew it, Livy saw one man lunge toward the other man, who had a gun, the two fighting. The gun went off, a shot echoing through the cave. One of the men fell. Livy went quiet, terrified. Then silence. She wanted to move, but was afraid she might be shot too. She waited what seemed like forever. The storm died down. Then silence. Quiet. Had the angry men left the cave? Livy found herself drowsy and couldn't hold her head up. Before she knew it, she had fallen asleep. When she woke, she struggled to recall where she was. The cave. And the men fighting. Livy poked her head from behind the boulder and saw no one. She looked around again at the expanse of the cave. Glittering things on the earth caught her eye. What were they? Lightning bugs? The storm picked up again. She waited, still afraid to move or to see what was on the ground out there that sparkled in the dark. It seemed a long, long time to her when she finally decided it was safe to leave her hiding place and look at those pretty, shiny things out there. She still couldn't tell what they were, but they were right nice, and she shoved as many as she could inside her pockets. More time passed. Then she heard more footsteps. She limped back to the space behind the rock and listened to voices muffled by the thunder. First came a man's voice, then another. Had the men come back? Had they come back to fetch those sparkling things? The voices went on for some time as Livy cowered in the shadows, hoping they didn't see her. Then another loud crack shattered the still air. Was that a lightning strike or a gunshot? Livy didn't care anymore. She started screaming.
Sweet Jesus, please save me. I don't want to die too.
Chapter 41. Tilly had been driving for only a half hour when the bus made a horrible coughing sound, sputtered, then died. She tried to start it again, but flooded the engine. Least that's the way it sounded to Lorene, who recollected that from her auto mechanic days with Hezzy. She reckoned he never did get that engine working good and proper. Splat screamed a bad word. The nun whispered, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph." And Tilly sat there, bawling her eyes out.
I didn't do nothing wrong. It just went on me. And all I did was try to get her going again.
Get out of that seat,
Splat screamed.
You, Lorene, you see what you can do to get this bus moving.
Lorene sat in the driver's seat, but no matter how she turned the ignition key, the thing was deader than a doornail.
Looks like we're stuck here, Splat. Unless you got any more brilliant ideas.
Outside, the morning sun was creeping over the tops of pine trees, rinsing everything in white light. Soon, they'd be visible to whoever happened to be driving down this two-lane country road. No sooner had Lorene had the thought when she spotted something in the side mirror coming toward them. Dang! She prayed the vehicle didn't stop. No telling what Splat might do.
Looks like we got company,
Lorene said, watching the car slow down and pull up behind them. Splat's face turned red as a ripe tomato. He pointed the gun at each of them, then tucked it under his belt, his shirt tail covering it.
Let me do the talking. No funny business, got it?
They each nodded as a man knocked on the side door. Splat opened it and stepped down. Lorene looked from the driver's seat past Splat at the man, who was tall and gangly with an Adam's apple that bobbed up and down when he spoke.
Howdy, folks. Everything okay here, or can I give you all some hep?
We're fine, sir. Thanks for stopping. We're just resting a bit before moving on.
The man smiled, showing crooked teeth.
I see you're with Josh Montgomery. You wouldn't think I'd be a fan, being the business I'm in and all. Although that ain't got nothing to do with it. I just really like his music and thought you folks might need some help.
Lorene wondered what business that might be when she looked in the mirror again and saw the vehicle.
A hearse. Damnation.
What was it with her and hearses? Carmela would say it was her karma, whatever the hell that meant. Something like getting what she deserved, she suspected.
Like I said, we're just fine, and glad to hear you're a fan.
Splat said.
Thanks again, and we'll be going now.
The man stood there for a few seconds, looked down at his feet, then up again.
Suppose I could get an autograph?
Sorry. He's resting right now. You know what it's like with these big stars. Need their sleep.
Splat said. The man was about to turn around to leave when Tilly stood up, ran to the front of the bus and screamed,
Wait! I can't take the pressure no more! I ain't had a cigarette in forever and I can't take it! We're all gonna die, I tell you! Die! We're being kidnapped! Help us! Help! Help!
Lorene let out a string of curse words she didn't even know she could say, at which Splat pulled out the gun and pointed it at the man.
What in the world?
He asked, dazed.
Looks like you came along at a bad time, mister.
Lorene thought fast.
Look, Splat, let's take his vehicle. We need to ditch this bus. It's daylight and the police already are looking for us. Maybe this guy came along at the right time. Let him be. He ain't nothing to us. Let's just take his car and get the hell out of here.
Splat pondered her words, then nodded.
All right, then. Truss him up and put him in the back of the bus.
The man put up a good fight while Splat held him, and Lorene bound and tied him up like a steer, covering his mouth with some duct tape she found in a closet. She stuck him in the rear bedroom and opened the window so he'd at least get some air.
Sorry, mister. Ain't got no choice in this one. And not to my liking. We're just trying to stay alive.
When Splat saw the car was a hearse, he started cussing again. Tilly began her usual crying and the nun her praying, a pattern Lorene was getting used to. Hey, she wasn't exactly thrilled about getting into a hearse, but it was what they needed right now. An escape. It may be a vehicle for the dying, but it had 4 wheels and nobody would ever guess they were inside, until the police came hunting them because they found Montgomery's empty bus with the funeral director inside. There was that. As Lorene walked to get inside the hearse, she saw a casket in the back.
Damn.
She didn't know if there was a body in it and didn't want to know. She just wanted to get the heck out of there as fast as she could. Splat directed Laureen to drive while he sat next to her holding the gun. He ordered the nun and Tilly to sit in the back. Tilly screamed.
Sweet Jesus! There's a casket! A dead body back here! Get me out of here! Get me out now!
Shut your yapping.
Splat said.
And no more funny business like back there. I should have shot you when I had the chance.
Sister Sarah tried to calm Tilly.
Nothing to fear from the dead, Tilly.
She paused and gave Splat an angry look.
Just the living.
With that said, they were back on the road again.
Chapter 42. Summer 1987. Red Boiling Springs. Sammy walked to the body on the ground and knelt beside it. He turned it over. His stomach dropped and he thought he was going to throw up. Blood was everywhere, puddling on the cave floor. He felt for a pulse. Nothing. Then he checked for breath. Still nothing. Sweet Lord in heaven, how had this happened? A voice interrupted him.
Sammy? That you, Sammy? Help me, Sammy. I don't want to die too.
He recognized it. Livy. Relief flooded through him, mixed with the horror of what had just happened.
Livy, where are you?
Over here.
She yelled.
I knew you'd come, Sammy. I knew it.
He followed her voice to the boulder. She was sitting there, shivering, her face streaked with dirt and mud. No wonder he hadn't found her last night, all tucked away back here in this narrow passageway. He bent over and hugged her, a tenderness flooding him that he had not felt for her in a long time.
I was so scared, Sammy.
She said, starting to sniffle, breaking into sobs.
I'm so hungry. And look,
She said, pointing to her foot.
I think I done broke it.
There.
He tried to calm her.
We'll get you out of here right quick.
When he had settled her down, he looked her in the face.
Now, Livy, I gotta ask you something that's gonna be hard. I need you to be real clear with me, you hear?
She nodded.
What happened in this cave?
Livy became quiet, looking down, as if trying to decide what to say. She finally looked up at him again and gave that silly smile she sometimes got.
He done got killed, didn't he? Poor feller.
Sammy felt exasperated right now. What was he going to do about a dead body? Worse yet, the plans he and Nathan had with Mac were over. What was he going to do now? The softness he had felt a moment ago for his sister was gone. Frustration boiled up inside him as he realized he would be trapped forever by his sister, by this life.
Look, Livy, you have to tell me what you saw here. It's important.
Livy reached into the pockets of her skirt and pulled something out. At first he thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. The objects glittered in the darkness of the cave, sparkling as Livy placed them on her lap. Sammy's eyes focused on what was before him. Jewelry of all kinds, rings, bracelets, necklaces, made of rubies, emeralds, diamonds.
Ain't they pretty, Sammy?
She said, holding one of the diamond necklaces up to her neck.
Livy?
She began giggling, putting on a diamond ring and stretching out her hand to admire it.
We're gonna have plenty of good stuff to eat now, Sammy, right? We'll have meat and apple fritters and all the biscuits we can put in our bellies.
Sammy's eyes were wide, wondering how much this jewelry was worth. He reached over to Livy's lap and took a gold bracelet studded with rubies. He let out a low whistle. He couldn't even begin to imagine how much this or the other gems would fetch.
Livy, how did you come by this?
She grinned and swiped at his arm in a playful way.
Why, don't be silly, Sammy. This here was done sent by God so we could have plenty of food to eat.
She stopped and giggled. She leaned into him and whispered,
You should know, Sammy. God told me this was my hush money, so I can stay hushed about what done happened and never tell a soul I saw who done it.
Chapter 43. It may have been a country road, but traffic was picking up. Morning rush hour, Laureen reckoned. Not that she had ever driven in any of it before. But she remembered other folks stuck in that bumper-to-bumper mess on Interstate 65 and 40 from her Nashville days. Some folks really did work honest jobs, although she never was one of them. Lord knows she had tried, but she had never finished high school, and the only work she could get was bartending or cashiering, and the occasional lay, although she tried to stay away from the last one. The thought of disease and pregnancy were both bad in her book, although she wasn't sure which one was worse. Now take Charlie Pistol. He claimed to have an honest job, but he lied just like the rest of them. She up and left him and ended up in even worse circumstances in Houston, working at one of them Tata places as a waitress, having to put up with remarks about how big her boobs were and the occasional pinch and tug. If she had been smart like Dee Dee Crabbe, her best friend in high school, maybe she would have ended up better. Dee Dee was the only girl who'd ever speak to her, the rest of them calling her poor white trash. Didn't make Dee Dee know never mind. She always shared her lunch of biscuits and honey with Laureen and told her about the places she'd travel someday as a doctor. Now, Dee Dee was probably saving children in Africa somewhere, while Laureen was driving a stolen hearse back to Red Boiling Springs. Still, it was a smart decision, ditching the bus. Police were hunting it like a dog chasing a coon, and she could sense they were nearby. She just hoped it took a while. No telling if her mama was still alive or not. An annoying sniffle intruded on Laureen's thoughts. She looked in the rearview mirror at Tilly, who was crying and white as ashes. Come to think of it, Splat didn't look so good either. A while back, he seemed to be turning pale, and he looked even worse now.
Lord have mercy,
Tilly said.
It smells like flowers in here, and how do we know who's back there riding with us? They'll never get to their eternal resting place now, thanks to us. This is the damned creepiest thing done ever happened to me. Although there was the time I thought I saw this ghostly apparition of my grandma sitting at the bar at the Cattle Call Tavern, drinking beers like she always did, and...
Shut up!
Splat interrupted. His breathing seemed hard and rough, and Laureen wondered what was happening to him.
I'm sure the soul back there is already at their resting place, Tilly,
Sister Sarah said in that calming way she had. Laureen wasn't happy about their extra passenger, but this was the way things were right now. Maybe God could put that soul on hold for a while.
Mind if I turn on the radio to hear the news? We might catch something about the police,
Laureen said, fiddling with buttons. Splat nodded, then started coughing hard for a few minutes. When he finally stopped, the veins in his forehead were bulging. Maybe those falls had hurt him worse than Laureen thought, or maybe he was sick to begin with and never told them. Laureen had made the mistake of feeling sorry for the guy before. Not now. She hoped he keeled over, and then he could join the dearly departed in the back. A news announcement broke the silence.
Police are still trying to find Josh Montgomery's stolen tour bus and an escaped female prisoner. Authorities feel the incident may be related to the disappearance of a Catholic nun, whose car was found abandoned along a stretch of road near Memphis. The public is to be cautious as the escaped prisoner may be armed and dangerous.
Laureen let out a sputter of a laugh.
Me? They gotta be kidding.
They're looking for me. For us, thanks be to God.
Sister Sarah said.
I'm sure they'll find us soon.
To Laureen's thinking, that wasn't such a good idea. She knew Splat would kill them all before letting them get caught. He still had the gun pointed at her, but was wiping his brow with a handkerchief, especially near his head wound, which was oozing again. Then, out of the blue, he started wheezing and coughing up a storm.
Are you all right, Mr. Splat?
Sister Sarah asked. He was so choked up he couldn't speak. A big believer in seizing the opportunity, Lorene looked around. Most of the traffic had gone now, and they were pretty much alone on this country road. She slammed hard on the brakes, and the gun went flying out of Splat's hand, bouncing off the dash and landing in the back seat.
I got it! I got it!
Tilly screamed, while Splat sat there, coughing and dazed. And the back door of the hearse flew open. The casket slid out onto the road, bumping behind them. Lorene jumped out and pulled Splat from the passenger's side.
Help me, you twit!
She screamed at Tilly, who was still inside holding the gun. Tilly got out of the hearse and gave the gun to Lorene. Sister Sarah followed, her eyes wide.
What are we going to do with him?
The nun asked.
See that casket yonder? That poor feller or gal is about to get some company for all eternity.
Chapter 44. Lorene held the gun on Splat, ordering Tilly and Sister Sarah to drag the casket over by the side of the road before any cars came by. Splat stood there, red-faced and coughing, blood dripping from his head.
I ain't doing it,
Tilly said, balking.
That's a dead person in there.
Come now, Lorene,
Sister Sarah said.
This isn't right and you know it. And frankly, Tilly and I aren't strong enough to move that casket.
The nun was right. She was about as frail as a twig, and though Tilly seemed to be strong enough, she couldn't do it alone. Lorene waved the gun at Splat, motioning him to move toward the casket. With Tilly, he pushed it slowly to a nearby clump of trees, while he hacked and sputtered and Tilly cried the entire time, snot running down her face.
Oh, dear Lord, if Ray could see me now, desecrating the dead like this. Would you rather he be walloping the tar out of you?
Lorene asked.
Now come on, we got to open that casket and put him inside.
Sister Sarah stood there, arms folded, in that defiant way she got at times.
I'm afraid this is where I draw the line,
she said.
I will not put an innocent man in that casket to die.
Well, that's what most caskets are for anyway, ain't they? Besides, I got a news flash for you, sister. He ain't so innocent, in case you haven't been listening. He's fixin' on killing Josh Montgomery. And keep those hands where I can see them,
Lorene said, pointing the gun at Splat. Sister said,
And while we're on the topic of moving people to other places, I see no reason to keep me anymore.
Where in the tar nation would you go?
Lorene asked.
Nope. Can't do it, sister. Sorry. Besides, you know too much. No offense, but I'm afraid you're in the same boat with Tilly. You both got involved one way or another, and not to my liking. If I let either of you go now, you'll just report me to the police, and I'll end up back in prison instead of home with my dying mama.
Sister started protesting that she wouldn't say a word, with Tilly chiming in how it wasn't right to keep her either. And she wouldn't tell anything either, when Splat interrupted.
Look, ladies, let's be reasonable. We're all tired and upset. I'm gonna make a lot of money from this Montgomery job, and I'll split it with you. I'll let you in on it, and you don't have to do anything but get me there.
Right. Thought you said you was a solo act,
Lorene said, waving him toward the casket. As she did, a car passed by, slowing down, looking at the parked hearse and the strange collection of people on the road's shoulder. It sped up and went on its way.
We gotta get moving. Somebody's gonna report us to the police. Either we ditch Splat here, or take him with us.
Since we're all prisoners with you, Lorene, I'd at least like a vote,
Sister Sarah said.
My vote is he goes with us.
Me too,
Tilly said. If she wasn't wanted by the law herself, Lorene had a mind to drop him off at the nearest police station for a variety of charges. Truth was, though, she really wasn't into killing, and didn't need to add that to her list of crimes.
Damnation.
she muttered under her breath.
Get back in, you bastard. Only this time, Tilly, you're doing the driving. Sister Sarah up front with Tilly. Splat and I will get in the back. And Splat, I got the gun on you. Hurry up and get inside, all y'all.
What she'd do with him, or any of them, when they got to Red Boiling Springs was beyond her. She just hoped they didn't get caught before they got there. Chapter 45. They drove in silence along wooded roads. An occasional road sign pointed to the nearest Church of Christ, or a billboard advertised a restaurant with country home cooking. Lorene didn't need church right now, but come to think of it, she was hungry. Now, without the bus, they didn't have food or toilets anymore. Nashville was still about 150 miles or 3 hours away. At some point, they'd have to stop. Tilly was driving much too slow for Lorene's liking.
Lordy, girl, I'd like to get there before Christmas, or at least before my mama dies.
Now, Lorene, no need to be impatient,
Sister Sarah said, turning her head toward the back.
We're all having a rough time with this situation, so why don't we have some nice conversation? Mr. Splat, why don't you tell me your story?
Don't have a story to tell.
Splat shot back.
But of course you do. We all do. So why don't I start?
Great. Just what Lorene needed right now. Group therapy. For once, Tilly did something good and interrupted.
But I thought we done heard your story, sister.
Sister smiled.
Not all of it. For instance, did you know that years ago when I was young, I ran away from my home in Philadelphia because I was pregnant?
Okay. So maybe the nun did have a story after all. Lorene leaned in toward her from the back seat. Tilly laughed, slamming her hand against the steering wheel.
I knew it. I knew you done had sex somewhere.
Splat added his nickel's worth.
So guess you ain't all good and holy as you claim, sister.
Sister Sarah straightened her veil with a hurt look.
I never claimed anything, Mr. Splat. I know what it's like to do wrong, but I also know what it's like to be forgiven and find God's mercy.
Everyone waited.
Should I go on? All right then.
Sister began talking as if she were teaching a class. Lorene reckons she did that with the abused women at the shelter, telling everything simply and matter-of-factly so they understood. Sister's story was adult material those women probably knew all about, telling how she grew up in a poor Irish family in Philadelphia and how she fell in love with Tommy McFadden, who lived a few blocks over. Her father, a drunk who spent all his money at the corner bar, didn't like McFadden a bit. Tommy was trying to better himself by going to college instead of working for the city railway system, which is what every man in their neighborhood did. Instead, her father felt the boy put on airs. Her mother, who had to work as a domestic, cleaning homes of wealthier people, wasn't around much but liked Tommy. Lorene listened, with something deeper stirring inside she didn't know was there.
I was the oldest of 4 girls, but my father doted on me. He didn't want the likes of Tommy McFadden taking away his pride and joy. Mind you, I was a looker in those days.
Sister stopped, blushed, and continued hurriedly.
Well, that's not important now, but I used to sneak out after school and meet Tommy.
For some fooling around time, right?
Tilly asked.
Call it what you want. At 16, I ended up pregnant, my father throwing me out of the house, and my mother tried to talk sense into him, but he wouldn't listen, stubborn Irishman.
Pregnant? Wow, who would know, right? So, what did you do then?
Lorene asked, relating to the running away part of the sister's story.
I was very lost. Even though I was brought up Catholic, I never prayed much and went to Mass only when I had to. I remembered the Sisters of the Holy Child had a home for girls in my situation on Broad Street. One of my classmates had been there, Maria D'Antonio. I wonder whatever happened to her.
Sister paused and looked out the window. She cleared her throat and continued.
Anyway, my mother walked me over there one day and they took me in. Mamma loved me, but she was frightened of my father. He used to slap her around if she didn't do what he told her. Mamma left me there, and the sisters took good care of me. They fed me and promised they would find a good home for my baby, which they did. I suppose what really turned me around, though, is they absolutely loved me without judging me. I had never had that before.
The only one who had ever loved Lorraine that way was her grandpa Mac. But then he up and disappeared.
What happened to the baby? How did you become a nun?
Tilly asked. Sister became quiet.
I don't know where that baby is today, but I know she grew up with a loving, good family, something I couldn't give her. And I pray for her every day. I also learned from the sisters a new way of life. Poor Tommy never knew about being a father, and I think he was broken-hearted that I mysteriously went away. I pray for him every day, too. But as to becoming a nun, I stayed on and worked with the sisters at the home, any odd jog they could give me, washing or cooking, and then, when I turned 18, I joined them.
Splat started coughing again.
Guess you'll tell us that Jesus saved you,
he said, through fits and starts.
Why, yes, Mr. Splat, exactly. I suppose he did.
Tilly straightened up in the seat and sighed.
I think that's just about the best story I ever heard. Better than a soap opera. Now it's your turn, Mr. Splat.
Tilly seemed to be getting into the spirit of this sharing thing, but Lorraine wasn't so sure she wanted a turn at it. Splat didn't seem to want any part of it either.
Ain't got nothing to say.
We know some of it.
Tilly said.
Like you was born in Nashville and have a wife and such.
You don't know nothing,
he said, sneering. Sister turned around and patted Splat on the hand. He jerked it back as if he had been bitten by a snake.
It's really all right, Mr. Splat. I'm sure your childhood was a hard one to bring you to this point.
Splat leaned his head back and started laughing, then coughing. What's so funny? Lorraine asked, pointing the gun at his side. He couldn't seem to stop laughing.
I ain't like any of you losers. Like Tilly there. With a husband who beats the crap out of her. Or you, sister, with your life of sex and then giving it all up for nothing. Or even you, Lorraine, ending up in prison and stealing this bus. My dad was a Baptist minister, and I grew up on the straight and narrow.
In Lorraine's mind, he detoured off that straight and narrow road somewhere along the way. Even Carmela would have seen that, calling Splat some kind of psychopath who grew up without a conscience.
Always watch out for them.
She'd warn Lorraine.
They seem normal enough, but inside they're like ticking time bombs. You stay away from them.
I don't understand, Mr. Splat,
Sister said.
What led you to a life of crime?
It was just easier,
he said, his coughs dying down. And there it was, Lorraine thought. The harder path was to be good. Her grandpa had always said that. Seems she and Splat had chosen the easier one. For a brief moment, she felt something stir in her gut. A feeling of sorrow that she had never done better, tried harder to be good. Maybe she still could. Sister here had. She pondered this as Tilly said,
Now it's my turn. Where do I start?
Lordy, this was going to be a long ride. We hope you enjoyed Part 9 of AIRT's production of Lorene on the Lamb by Marie Elena Zuniga. For more stories, visit veronicapresents.com. You can help us grow our audience by rating and reviewing this show. Lorene on the Lamb is available in print and ebook editions on Amazon.com. Thanks for listening.